This session is about our core program, Campaign Trends and Best Practices. And for the third year in a row, I have the honor of and the privilege of talking with our membership about the combined federal campaign. And the combined, we don't let me use the clicker that often. The combined federal campaign is, and I'm just going to give a little bit of background for the new faces in the room, is the federal government's workplace giving program. It was established by executive order in 1961, and it's currently a program that most of our members participate, and it has been a vital source of revenue for those nonprofits that have participated since its inception. As you can see, there has been over $8.3 billion raised in the combined federal campaign since it began. The current campaign provides access to about 9.9 million current federal employees and retirees. A little bit of context on the CFC. At its height in 2009, the campaign generated revenues of about $282 million, and it had about 25,000 nonprofits participating at that time. I think the participation percentage at its highest, which I think was about 2010, was a little under 24%. The program itself has been on a gradual decline since 2009, that peak in 2009, with the most precipitous decline being in the few years period to the current years in 2013, with the first federal government shutdown during that time period, which occurred in the fall. So some other context. So we have a campaign that kind of had a really big decrease in 2013, and it was steadily, gradually declining since then. In 2017, the CFC began its first year under a new set of regulations, and this set of regulations was first drafted in 2013, and so it took a long time to get the final rule implemented. And there were some significant changes to the campaign from the way it used to be. The summary of these changes are: there was a change in a campaign structure. The campaign went from about 150 local campaigns throughout the nation to about 36 campaign zones. And what happened is, due to this consolidation of campaign zones, it led to larger campaign zones throughout the nation. So the local campaigns were now faced with larger regions to cover and less resources in these larger regions to engage employees. Another change is that the fee structure of the CFC changed in 2017. And before 2017, the fees were taken out of the donation on the back end prior to them going to the nonprofit. The OPM in the new rule had decided to basically place the cost recovery of the campaign on the participating nonprofits. And this was through a series of fees, a few upfront fees. There was an application fee, and then an upfront listing fee once an organization was approved to participate in the program. There was also a third fee, a distribution fee, which was assessed, and it was assessed in 2017, it was assessed in 2018, and that third distribution fee was basically to cover the costs of the campaign that weren't covered by the application and listing fees. And the reason that this third fee was assessed in the first couple of years was that the costs were a little bit higher, but due to upfront implementation of online technology, which is a cost that they're splitting over a 3-year period, as well as changes in the organizational structure. So we had this upfront fee switch, which actually led to a decrease in the nonprofits that participated in the CFC. In 2017, it went from 20,000 nonprofits in 2016 to about 8,000 nonprofits. And I know that's a jarring number. However, that was partially the desired result of the team at OPM. They had really given us a statistic that floored me when I first heard it, that about 60% of those participating nonprofits in the campaign received no funding. So, it was a desired result of OPM to a point. They also, as part of the rule change, there was an implementation of more online processes, and the campaign moved to a new technology platform. And we all know that when you implement technology, that there are bound to be some glitches. But however, some were more serious than others. The first being that the technology itself took a longer time to actually launch than they had planned. So the online technology launched about a month after the campaign did. So there was, an inability of certain donors to give online for that month period. And when the technology did launch, there were some really serious flaws with the search function. So it had its challenges. And so those are three. And another one is that, and this was an exciting change, is that retirees were able to give for the first time in the 2017 campaign. And that was huge. That was something that we'd all been wanting for many years, and it came into play. So at our meeting last May, and some of you were here, and it's great seeing you again, we had just come out of our first year of the rule change, and we were analyzing the results of the program. And the CFC was down to 101 million from 167 million the year prior, which was a 40% decline. And there was nearly a 60% decline in participation, and that was down to 4.3%. So we acknowledged, we analyzed the changes, and we really attribute it to, hey, there were a lot of changes. OPM had these great intentions, and they just simply tried to do too much too soon, and perhaps a gradual implementation of some of these processes would have been more advisable. The local campaigns had a delayed startup time as a result of the delays, and they were not really prepared with the tools they needed to effectively, conduct their ground game and engage employees. So we have the decline, but the bright spot when analyzing the results and thinking, okay, OPM tried to do a little too much too soon, and a lot of these problems were probably one-time problems. Bright spot in this was retirees. The launch of solicitation of retirees did not occur till December of the campaign period. So they only had a month out of the full, I guess it started in October, 3-month period, to solicit retirees, and in that time they raised $500,000. So that was a ray of hope right there, the retirees. So a bright spot. So we came out of this, and we were okay. This happened. Let's move forward. And we were pretty sure that most of these things were one time, and we were hopeful that things would change, but we needed some assurances on behalf of our membership that things would change and things would move forward, and these glitches, for lack of a better term, would be rectified. So we requested a meeting with the Office of Personnel Management, Office of the CFC, and a team of us met with the full team at OPM, including the director, Keith Willingham. And our focus for this meeting was, let's move forward. And how can we move forward? We know what happened. So how do we get there from here? And the team at OPM listened to our suggestions, and they shared their impressions of what happened in the prior year campaign, and their assessment of why things happened the way they did, which really matched our interpretation, trying to do too much too soon. They acknowledged the flaws in the search function. We left that meeting feeling heard, and we left that meeting feeling very confident that, OPM took this to heart and that there would be changes. So that was great. They understood that things need to change. And while we were confident that this message was heard by OPM, we also, didn't want to take any chances. We felt that, we needed to do more. And in doing more, it was done, and it was more powerfully done in collaboration with others. Some examples of what we did. Jim Starr, our CEO, our fearless leader, took part in a focus group with the Central Campaign Administrator. And that is the body, the entity that manages the online application and donation and all that reporting platform. And Jim played an active role and basically provided key feedback and suggestions for issues that really needed to be fixed moving forward. And it was great that he was there to advocate for us all. We also led the charge in working with other participating organizations in the campaign, and we led the charge, and we had requested a meeting with the outreach coordinators. And there are 5, but there are 4 that currently manage campaigns, and they are responsible for the day-to-day ground game they are responsible for the fundraising efforts in each of the local campaign areas. So we requested a meeting, and we did. We had all of them there, and a group of us got together, and we listened. And we listened to their plans for the upcoming campaign. We also, understood a bit of their pain points during the process. We, provided our feedback and our suggestions. And we also, at this time, educated them on what we do and how much our members and we value the CFC and how we value campaign events. And we offered our assistance in any way possible and also provided and shared with them best practices. So to find out how that went, a little later on in this session, Brittany Clara Davies, I got it right, and Jen Watkins are going to go a little bit more in detail on campaign events. So this brings us to the 2018 campaign, so where we were hopeful that things would change, needed assurance they would, and did everything in our power to ensure that it did. So the 2018, things are starting to look better. The campaign started on time. Retiree solicitation began on time. The online giving portal launched on time. Campaign events launched on time, and there was an improvement in the quality and consistency of the events that we were receiving. And fixes to the search function were made, which is yes. So it really appears that OPM, listened, and they took it to heart, and they knew that things had to be done, and they did what they needed to do. And so, while we knew that, to go from a 40% decline, that a complete rebound would not be possible, we knew that. We knew it would take time. But we were encouraged by what we were seeing and hearing, and things looked really positive, and things were starting to bounce back. Until December 22nd, 2018. When the federal government entered into a partial shutdown, during which this time 800,000 federal employees were either furloughed or expected to work without pay. And I just want to give you a little statistic. Prior to that date, prior to the shutdown, the campaign was tracking about 10% higher than it did the previous year. So things were looking better. What we felt and what we saw were actually coming to fruition. So during the shutdown, America's Charities team, we continued our advocacy efforts. We wrote to OPM and we requested an extension due to the circumstances of the shutdown. We also offered our assistance to campaign outreach coordinators who really had a serious challenge now. There was a big loss of momentum. We worked with them to try to help them maintain that momentum. And we also reached out to the press with a story to tell about the CFC, which culminated in an article in the Washington Post, which really highlighted the importance of the CFC, the generosity of the federal employee donor, and also, highlighted the efforts of our membership and other nonprofits in the program who during this time were providing assistance to the federal employee donor. So we continued, and the campaign ultimately, the extension was granted, and it ran until February 22nd. So what was the impact of the partial shutdown? The 2018 combined federal campaign came in at $90.2 million, which is a 10% decline from the prior year campaign. I can't say that we are not disappointed by this result. I just can't. What I can say is that we are heartened by the fact that this was the result, given that it occurred during the longest shutdown in government history, 35 days. So, it just says so much about the generosity of the federal employee donor and the spirit and commitment to the CFC. So we have this result. It's disappointing. There were some bright spots. The results for our membership, and I know that stat has been kind of said a few times now. Overall decline for the campaign, 10.7%. The average decline for our membership was on average 5.6%. So that was a good sign. The efforts that you all put into the campaign paid off. Another bright spot, retiree giving, which did not launch on time in 2017, raised $500,000. Launched on time, raised $1.5 million in the last campaign. So that is a very bright spot. You know, not perfect. OPM did the best they could in reaching out to the retiree donors, but they're hard to find sometimes. So there's still some improvements to be made, but that is a great result. So we're looking at a campaign that has raised $350 million in the last 3 years. Yes, the results of the prior 2 years are very disappointing, but that is still a lot of money for the participating nonprofits and the recipients of their services. So, where does this take us? Yes, I don't have much of a poker face. 2018, very disappointing. So what does the future hold for the CFC? And there have been articles, I'm sure you've seen them, in the press that have said the CFC is going to die. The end is near. The team at America's Charities has long believed the opposite and has publicly stated as such, and we still believe that. Is the CFC dying or going away? No. And to think otherwise is a disservice to the work of everyone involved in the program, including the nonprofits that participate. Having that kind of mentality only hurts the program. A program that raises $90.2 million now for nonprofits and their constituents. You know, after last year, OPM took the results to heart. They sought our feedback. They did what they had to do, and the program was getting better. The government shut down. The results we saw prior to the shutdown, having that increase, that gradual increase of 10%, showed that the campaign was moving in the right direction. The results for our membership were encouraging, as was retiree giving. So we're not done. You know, we got lots of work to do, $90.2 million, but we want to grow that. America's Charities will continue to advocate for our members, as we have since the rule change was first announced, to ensure that the campaign continues to move in the right direction. We have recently taken part in some initiatives with the CFC National Committee. One is to try to get a better sense from the federal employee donors on why they give or do not give to the CFC. So that's something that we've put some suggestions in on how to reach those donors. We've also provided some feedback, and this has been presented to OPM, on how to further streamline and make better the events process. There was a vast improvement, but there's still work to be done. So also another thing that we have here, when the rule was implemented in 2017, there was a look back provision put in the final rule. And it basically states that after 3 years, OPM, and we are on, 2019 is going to be year 3, OPM can look back at the rule and say, okay, what achieved the desired result, what did not? And they have the opportunity through the look back period to course correct and change that. So if that comes to pass, and I hope it does, I am all over that. This is my passion. I will be there. America's Charities team will be there driving the process. So we're going to continue to advocate as we've done, and we will keep you posted on any of our actions in real time and any developments. And I am now going to turn this over to Emily Gross, who's going to be giving some information about our state and local public sector program, which is a vital and stable source of revenue for our members to participate. Thank you. And I'm going to